Today, we're delighted to welcome Rachel Newton, ACC founder of Life Career Studio and a coach whose work beautifully blends career coaching, positive psychology, body-centered coaching, and well-being. For more than 15 years, Rachel has helped people navigate career transitions with greater confidence, purpose, and self-awareness while also giving back to the profession through teaching peer learning communities, and leadership of ICF Washington State's BIPOC Coaches Connect group. Her work reminds us that meaningful transformation isn't just about changing careers, it's about reconnecting with ourselves. I'm excited to explore her coaching journey and what she's learned about developing coaches and what she believes the future of our profession holds. Welcome, Rachel.
Oh, thank you, Sherlyn, for that wonderful and very humbling introduction. And I hope I can live up to that expectation that you just set.
That is you, and this spotlight is going to be honoring you. So thank you for saying yes, Rachel. I'm glad I dropped into the BIPOC Coaches Connect that day to see you in action. It was amazing to see, and so I'm glad you said yes. One of the things that really stands out about your story is that you intentionally left a successful career in technology to pursue more meaningful work helping others. Can you take us back to the moment where you realized that coaching was work that you wanted to pursue?
It's interesting because the coaching piece came a few years after my pivot. My original pivot uh, back, it's the journey started in 2009. I burnt out in my tech role and I didn't have any boundaries and I had my first panic attack. I was experiencing anxiety, thinking it was a heart attack, and ended up losing a chunk of hair. So all of these very somatic signals I was getting, and just feeling miserable in my life. I enjoyed the people I worked with, but the work itself, I didn't have any boundaries around it, and it was not going to be sustainable for me. And I actually worked with a career coach too, because I had been trying, I call it wandering the vocational desert for 2 decades. And I've been trying to do it on my own, and I wasn't able to. So I very humbly, Little Miss Independent, decided to get some help. And then I actually went into career counseling first, went back to school, left my job, went back to school, Canadianized my studies to be able to work here in Canada. So I'm on the West Coast here, just a little bit north of you in Washington State. And and then it wasn't till 2018 that I actually started formally bringing coaching into my work. And it was through body-centered coaching, actually. I'd started doing a lot more somatic work the year before I started my studies in medical qigong, and so I I found out very quickly in the career counseling the limitations of talk therapy, and so that's one of my pillars is the somatic, the body-centered preference.
You invest significant time supporting fellow coaches through peer communities, teaching and volunteer leadership, like you're doing with the BIPOC Coaches Connect. What drew you to support your coaches in developing their craft at that level?
I'm always so excited when people are entering the helping profession because there is so much need out in the world for support. And so when I feel like I receive so much support from people along my journey, and it's paying it forward, and being able to share my experience, and if there's anything from my messy middle, as Jemima Ibarra will say, and Matt Abrahams talks about the mistakes you make, but the mistakes are from thinking you're in a movie, you have many takes, and then until you get it right. or it's good enough. And so if I can help other people in their journey as they're starting out, or even along the way, even if we're like at a equivalent experience, it's just I love learning from other people. And beginner's mind, it has like such a lot of wisdom. Like probably one of the biggest things I hear myself say when I'm meeting a new coach is that they're minimizing their capability because they don't know all the competencies yet. They don't feel they've got the experience. I'm like, your life experience is golden. That's wisdom. You can draw on that. So that's what is meaningful for me and lifts me up and fulfills me to help other people do this really important work.
Amazing. And you've continued expanding your learning across counseling, positive psychology, and somatic coaching and well-being, like you just mentioned. After years of experience in this field, what continues to bring you the most meaning or energy in your work as a coach?
I'm just going to share with you, Shirlene, I just received tingles as I was like hearing you ask that question. And it really is about the person sitting across from me, whether it's one person or a group of people, that they have the courage to sit across and answer really challenging questions or hear reflected back their wisdom and acknowledging it and being surprised by it. I was just there's nothing like it. And I know there's coaches out there listening to this and you from your own experience, you have your version of that too. It just that it more than fills my cup. So,
Fills your cup. Absolutely. And so you're clearly someone who hasn't stopped learning, but from your perspective, what distinguishes a coach who continues to evolve in their practice from one who has become a little bit more static over time?
well, I have yet to meet the coaches that I tend to hang out with are all really invested in themselves and their careers and the way they help their clients. I I I don't I can only imagine because as I said I don't seem to bump into people who haven't stopped wanting to learn because curiosity is a core value that I see in a lot of excuse that's interesting. So curiosity is a core value that I see in a lot of coaches around me. And my imagination, if I were to meet someone who would stop that learning journey, is that you know maybe they're just at a place where they're comfortable where they are like but I tend to be really hungry for knowledge, and I sometimes I call myself a learning addict. And I've learned to say no to a lot of things because I can be, squirrel, like in that movie Up, of just like, oh, a shiny new certification. But I think it's finding that balance between the learning and then the integrating and bringing that knowledge in. But this, my one of my teachers, Dr. Robert Biswas-Diener, from Positive Acorn, which is where I trained to get my ICF ACC credential, which I'm very proud of, talks about coaching as a technology. And so with any technology, every day there's new advances in the research is changing. And so staying abreast of that. So I would say for someone who's not staying abreast of that is what distinguishes those of us who are and wanting to learn new techniques and refine and improve what we're doing. Never stop learning. I think that was Michelangelo.
Yeah, great. How do you recognize your work emphasizes transformation? So how do you recognize a coach who is truly continuing to learn, moving through that transformation? Why does that matter in their presence?
Mm. It is, to me, my very humble opinion, it is how they move through the transformation, through the transition. So change is the event, and then transition is the psychology of how you move through change. And so it's what it actually takes for the person to create that transformation. It's I'm not sure if you're familiar with David White. He's also in the Washington State area on Whidbey Island there, and a wonderful poet. And he has a coaching program too that maybe one day I'll do. And David White has a poem, and one of the lines really strikes me and speaks to me: start close in. And to me, it's like start with me, and then like I do the work, and then I can support other people to do the work. And so it's those who are willing to do their work.
Right. And your volunteer work, it reflects a deep commitment to the community, and we appreciate you at the
Thank
ICF
you.
Washington State chapter for volunteering your time to support the BIPOC coaches community. Many coaches feel that pull back into the profession to help others. What guidance would you give other coaches who are trying to contribute in meaningful ways?
Just to follow the fun and the joy. The reason that I wanted to be able to support in the BIPOC community in the first place is because I found that it was something I would put in my calendar, and I looked forward to it every month. And I'm just like, oh, I this community. I'm just like I have grown to love the community, and sometimes the same people are there, and sometimes new people are there. We met there, Sherlyn, which is
Yes, yeah.
amazing. And so it's, follow what lights you up. And that, those sparks of joy are so needed for your well-being, to maintain your well-being,
Yes.
because there's that foundation and that solid cultivation of your well-being is what will help smooth out the rough times and the rough edges. That's called life.
Yes, and that's a great segue to this next question. So, what have you learned about the role of community in a coach's development, and how can coaches intentionally build that for themselves?
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm a huge community person. If I kind of I go back, and I went to many different schools for the first until grade 8, because my dad was in the Air Force in Australia. And so I had to keep on starting over. So I didn't have a consistent community. And when I finally was able to be in one place for more than a year, I then realized how much I craved that as community. And so I find myself gravitating towards being in community, and I will either be proactive. I'm in the communities that I'm in, I'm more proactive than passive. But sometimes it's nice to sit back and let somebody else be proactive as well. And to speak to people about their own community journey of just allow yourself to be whatever your comfort level is. Some people don't want to be in a position where they're seeing too much or they're participating too much. They're just their comfortable place is to be part of something without the extra place where you are putting yourself forward. And, I'm an older sister. Bossy might have come in one of the adjectives for me. I remember once I was a long time ago, I was volunteering at one of the TEDx's here in Vancouver, and someone who had only spent a few hours with me that day is just like, "Oh, are you a manager?" It's like, I didn't have a leadership role in that group of volunteers, but I suppose that was coming out. So just some of us are naturally inclined to leadership, and some of us every leader also needs to have people to stand next to them. Not everybody needs to be up in front of the room. And I don't always have to be up in front of the room, but I seem to put myself there a lot.
In support of other people, it
Hmm.
seems. That's awesome. That reminds me of a story with my husband. When my husband and I first started dating, I've been volunteering since I was 18 years old. And so I pull people into all the things I volunteer for. I believe that I have a responsibility to give back. Just like you, like in the space that you're in, might as well give back while you're there. So my husband went with me to volunteer for the first time, and he says, "You don't volunteer; you just go and tell people what to do." So because I went and I got, "Do you need some water?" I made sure people had waters. We were doing Habitat for Humanity and painting some
Yes, yes,
houses. I
yeah.
made sure everybody had a task because they were there to volunteer, and so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't in charge of anything. But I was just like, this person is just standing around. They came here to volunteer. Let me make sure they have something that they can do that they like doing. And I kept doing that. He watched me. He's just like, you're not volunteering like while he's painting the wall. It's like you're just telling people what to do. So I totally understand that. Yes. Um, Looking ahead, how do you see the coaching profession evolving, especially as we navigate some leadership and the growing role of AI? What will leaders need from most coaches in the years ahead?
Leadership is a technology too. Just like, I was saying, Robert talks about coaching as technology. AI is definitely a technology. And so the finding this intersection for people who are in leadership roles and how they can utilize the best of coaching and the best of AI. And it's going to look different for everyone, and I'm certainly not an expert in this. I'm just going to just from my stepping back and what I have witnessed and what I've seen. And I'll just quickly drop out and just mention I'm actually doing a 1 year coaching in AI mentorship with Colin Scotland right now because I
Yep.
want to learn more about this. And I think it's really important to know about it. And but Colin talks about human first. And so even though I think AI is going to be, and it already is, influencing coaching and allowing it to be more accessible to more people in that way, there's a humanity that can't be replaced by AI. It can start, and I even see it for my clients who are open to utilizing AI. They come with their prompts that they've developed between our sessions, and then we go into them more deeply and into ways that you can't as a just with the machine, if you like, with that AI. So I think it's very uncharted territory, obviously. It's very much an evolution of that we're embarking on. And my counseling supervisor, Matt Wood Nessman, once said, uncertainty is the crucible of possibility, and we're moving into really uncertain times. And but from that, there's so many possibilities. I I wouldn't want to say like anything I say right now, by the time this goes and gets cut in, it could be completely different. And I don't want that to sound like a cop out, but where the technology is moving so fast. And so being able to hold on to our humanity in that, and yes, there's going to be more accessible coaching for people that's made by the technology. But at the same time, I think the depth and the quality and the need for human coaches is even greater than ever now, so that we don't get lost in the fray, because AI is a technology, garbage in, garbage out. I know I'm straying out of the lines here, but if you look at it as a tool, would you take a hammer and just expect the hammer to go and do something and hit that nail on the head without you picking it up and directing it? And so just AI as a tool is a very sophisticated tool, and it can fool you into thinking that it has a humanity about it. But I love Colin Scotland talks about jagged intelligence of AI, and that's what we need to be really careful of too.
Good. That's a really nice segue into this next question as well. I want to drill into the conversation around technology and humanity. And so, what will remain distinctly human and essential about coaching that gives you optimism for the future of our profession?
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things where I have experienced this, and I've heard from others as well, of after having been locked down by COVID and not being able to be physically in the room with people because we have such resilience as and fortitude as human beings, we found a way to still be connected. We're connecting right now, even though we're hundreds of miles away from each other, Shirley. And here we are having what to me feels like a wonderfully intimate and warm conversation because of the technology. But I don't imagine that the energy or the synergy that I would be having with an AI could be at this level. It might feel like it has like some human qualities, but there's going to be a fallibility that you and I might bring into our conversations. And because we're not data bots, we're going to just be, oh, how human of me that I said something, or that I stumbled over something. I didn't have the perfect answer. And that is the humanity of just you can say you can train your AI, but it's not drawing on any innovation that comes from here. And so that's one aspect. The other aspect is there is an energy when humans come together that at this point in time, I don't expect it to be emulated by an AI, because an AI doesn't breathe and live. It doesn't feel pain. It doesn't feel joy. It can pretend like a veneer, but deeply, it hasn't had its heart broken. It hasn't been elated by an amazing celebration and achievement in its life. Like that, those nuances of human experience of they I don't feel that they can be replicated.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. I am going to move us into this next part of the format that's called Rapid Round. And so I have about 7 questions, and I'll just ask them back to back. And this is the area where just like whatever comes to mind. So number one, here we go. We ready to go?
Okay.
Yeah? Cool. A coaching book you often recommend.
Do I only get one, Sherlyn?
You can have as many as you'd like. Most
Well,
people are responding with one.
yeah, so a coaching book, I like things in threes, and I'm actually going to actually have them close by. Um, so it's actually technically it's not a coaching book, the first one. I'm going to do four, so I'm breaking the rules. I'm not good. Adherence is not a strength of mine in my strengths profile. So the first one is actually called The Fear Project by Jamal Yogas, and just it is foundational because that's a human experience of feeling fear. And so yeah, if you want to have an understanding of fear at a very well researched level and very accessible way of explaining fear, and it like I the Fear Project would be my number one. And so that's more of a human book than a coaching book, but coaching is human too. So, and then
Yes.
more so that focused on coaching. So positive provocation changed my life because when I read this book and then I went and studied to become a coach with Dr. Robert Biswas-Diener. And then he and another coach, wonderful coach, Christian Van Nieuwenberg and Robert Biswas-Diener wrote Radical Listening. And so it just listening to the next level, listening on steroids, or just like you, whether you're a coach or not. Same with positive provocation, but radical listening, read that. And then I love using metaphors, and Lisa DeHart's book, Light Up, it just again, metaphors to the next level. So yeah. And I have more, but yeah, you said one, I gave you four.
Yes. Nice shout out to Lissa DeHart, who's also one of our members that we did a spotlight for. It's amazing. A coach or a thinker who has influenced you.
Um, well, I'll have to say Dr. Robert Biswas-Diener. If I uh He's been an incredible influence. When I grow up, I would like to be him. Well, not him, but just have a lot of the qualities of where I would like my coaching journey to go to. And he is not his moniker, but he's called the Indiana Jones of positive psychology as well. And he's an incredible speaker, incredible teacher, incredible writer, incredible human. So, yeah.
A question you return to often in your coaching.
At the end of my coaching, and uh, I am unfortunately blanking on the coach who inspired me to ask this question. Uh, at the end of my coaching, I offer for clients, if it is helpful for them to have a word, a phrase, an image, or an experience from our time together today to help take what we have talked about in our session into their lives, into their world. And 99% of the time, people have something, or maybe they've doodled something while we've been talking. And it's really surprising because like a good competency coach, I'll ask about next steps and what they're taking away, what they've learned. And sometimes I think, oh, they're just going to say one of the things from their summary of what they've learned. And oftentimes it'll be something completely different, or it'll be something from the very beginning of the session. It might be something that they've said, or it might be something that I've offered or reflected back. And just the surprise of that. And I'm really I really like to give people credit where credit's due, and I am completely blanking on that coach's name who inspired me from real coaching.
If it comes to you, we'll include it in here as well. A mistake you see new coaches make.
Thinking too much about the coaching mechanics, not trusting themselves enough.
One practice that strengthens you as a coach.
I meditate and journal every day.
One piece of advice for someone early in their journey.
Find the person who you admire who's doing this work and learn as much as you can about them. If you have the opportunity to study with them, do that. Uh, embody them as much as you can, and then find your own way to integrate what you admire about them and make it yours.
Very good advice. Finish this sentence. Coaching is powerful because.
It helps us connect back to who we truly and really are.
That's amazing. That is actually the summary of what I would say about this session. Everything you talked about points back to reconnecting with your purpose and with possibility. So, what do you hope coaches experience, Rachel, when they engage with your work? And for those who want to know more, how do they connect with you?
I would hope that wherever you are in your coaching journey, or maybe you're listening to this because you're curious about coaching and you're even as a client, but wherever you are, um, whether you're a new coach, whether you're thinking about coaching, whether coaching's on the side or it's you're making the big bold step to make it your 100%, that something here has planted a seed for you to keep on growing within you, the wisdom and the curiosity and the imagination and possibilities for yourself. And my tagline for Life Career Studio is work your dream. And however someone might hear something and find their person to help them work their dream. Or, if they're wanting to connect with me, I love having that conversation, especially with other coaches. I've got lots of free resources on my website too. And if I'm not the person for you, I am lucky enough to have a really wonderful referral network as well.
Great. Thank you. That's lifecareerstudio.com.
Oh, yes, my website. That important thing. Yeah, lifecareerstudio.com. Thank you, Sherilyn. So
Yes,
I'm also
yes.
on LinkedIn. So yeah, as Rachel Newton, but you'll have to look for me in Vancouver. So yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
This has been a wonderful conversation, and thank you for giving back to ICF Washington State,
you for
our
the
members.
invitation, Sherilyn. It's just an
Yes,
absolute pleasure
yes.
and so much fun. Thank you.